Hey, what's up guys and welcome back to Anime King. And today I'm going to be giving you the final episode of What If Naruto had the red Rinnegan and was neglected. Yes guys, the final episode of this series. Don't be sad because you know as usual new what ifs are coming up soon for you guys to enjoy. So I just want you guys to sit back, relax and enjoy yourself. And also stay tuned for What If Naruto Learned the Clone Secret in the beginning over on Anime King 2 guys. And I do hope that you guys enjoy. And yeah, without further ado, let's get straight into the last episode. Begin the intro. So, the last time we left off, Minato was in his office as he was furious. He called for Kakashi, who seemed rather pissed off at him, as he told Kakashi to go and get his son, to carry a group of envoys with him as well. As Minato was still looking at the head of Jiraiya that was on his decks, as it was time that he finally take action. So he decided to go with a large group of envoys with him. He was going to kill Naruto himself, as he headed off. Meanwhile, Kakashi and his group were intercepted by Junior and Sakura and Sai, while three other silver rank soldiers came there and took care of the envoys. As the silver rank soldiers faced off against Yamato, Kakashi had to face off against his team as he tried to get them to see reason for them to stop, but he saw that Sakura and Sai were completely loyal to Naruto and now Junior was as well. So he started to fight back, even clashing and hurting them, but in the end, with their non-stop assault, the three of them managed to bring him down as they severed his head from his body, finally ending the life of the copy ninja. Meanwhile, Tsunade and Shizune were leaving. Yes, Tsunade, after remembering that night where she thought that it was a dream, she realized it was reality. As knowing about Naruto now, she wanted to leave. After all, she was there, and she could have done something to protect the twins, but she didn't. She was just as ignorant like the others. But she was stopped by Naruko. She was shocked to see that Naruko was alive. Not even Minato knew that Naruko was alive yet, as Naruko asked her where she was going. As it was Naruko's duty to bring back some of Tsunade's samples of a senju, but they didn't say that she had to bring her back alive. Tsunade pushed Shizune out of the way as she started to fight back. Meanwhile, Naruto had arrived as Onki and his family tried to attack him. Naruto simply pulled all of them towards him and killing them. Onki begging for Kura to suck his life or Naruto hold her. As Naruto released her and told the medics to heal her up. After all, the Stone Moon needs someone to rule under his rule. Onki tried to attack him, but Naruto simply stopped Onki's particle style as his form, chakra around it, turned into a miniature ball as he blew Onki's arms off. As he treated the man like a rag doll before summoning the King of Hell, using Onki's soul to bring back Madara. As Madara emerged, the two titans then started to clash. As you see how superior Naruto was with his red Rinnegan. As Madara pulled out his ultimate Susanoo, he even managed to break Naruto's armor. But Naruto pulled out his Kyuubi form that was now a different level of power. As Naruto created a moon and dropped it on Madara, he had to destroy his own moon because it was destroying the Earth gravity field and nearly wiped out the entire Hillstone. As he went down towards Madara, he told him that that was a good battle. It's been a while since someone had made him stretch his leg this way. But he has got what he wanted from that battle, as he then used a soul eater on Madara. So yeah guys, that was basically as we left off. You guys can switch across the place and check out for yourself. So this will begin this new episode. We begin this episode south of the border of the Earth and Grass Country. Silver rank Naruko said Iwai Akiso, as Naruko stepped forward to the head of the Hunter Division, leaving her squad behind. They were all prepared for the sea of Konoha Ninja that was being led by Minato himself, that was scheduled to arrive in 3 hours. Sir, said Naruko as she stopped in front of the man. After all, he was the head of the division that she was in. He motioned for her to follow him as he walked through the division. As the orders were given off by a gold rank soldier, your younger brother and his teammates returned a few hours ago with the body of Kakashi Hatake. She had to control her face from snarling. She swallowed thickly because unlike Naruto, she didn't really like Minato Jr. Well, because he looked so much like their father, she didn't really like him. That's good news, sir, she said. The man looked over his shoulder and smiled warmly. Your division head Mora also told me that you performed excellent in your last mission. A smile came on her face as she felt pride flow through her body. It's not every day you get to kill a sardine. Congratulations, the man said. Thank you, sir, she said. As he stopped in front of a tent. It is not easy to take down a sardine, he said. I will make sure Mora record your accomplishments and ensure that you get a pay raise. Your work cannot go unrewarded. She bowed gratefully. I'm grateful, sir. He pointed over towards the tent. Lord Naruto has requested you rested in here and wait for his arrival. Did he say why you want me to stay back? She asked. He wants you to save your strength for your father. Naruko saluted as the man walked away for another function. As being a division head, he was aware that the schedule for the attack Iron Country was pushed ahead, but a large forces of the samurais has been subdued. As Nagato had reported this to Karen because they couldn't get in touch with Naruto at the moment he was occupied. But the only country that was left was Fire Country to completely be taken over. No matter how much Minato pushed for Naruto to try something. No, Naruto was going to wait. Fire Country will be the last, Konoha will be the last. Meanwhile, at the moment, Minato was still in Fire Country, but he was dangerously close to grass and to the Hidden Stone. The general orders was to keep Minato and his soldiers in Grass Country until Naruto arrived. They were not to attack Minato Namikaze, only keep him back in grass. Meanwhile, Naruko stepped in the tent that she was told to wait inside. The moment she stepped inside, she saw him. Her eyes changed into red as her nails extended. Silver ranked Naruko as Magi was sitting in there. She looked over towards the head of Fuinjutsu, who was sitting there with her leg crossed. Stand down, as Naruko acknowledged the girl platinum armor and the white headband for Fuinjutsu written in gold. But I said stand down, said Magi. As Naruko narrowed her eyes just the slightest before her eyes returned back to normal as her fingernails returned. Yes, she said. My lord Naruto wanted you to meet your brother, said Magi. Junior and his team has just returned from a mission, a very dangerous assassination mission given them by your brother. It was a test to see where his loyalties truly lie. Do you want to know the mission? Asked Magi. As Naruko said nothing. Do you want to know the mission? Magi asked once more. Yes, said Naruko. He was sent to kill his former sensei, Kakashi Hatake, with the help of his team. Naruko stopped grinding her teeth as she looked up at her younger brother. She felt a thud in her chest as she saw a tear slip down the boy's cheek. What? She knew Kakashi. He had made a point to avoid them when they were still in Konoha, but when they did see him, he was always sleeping in a tree or reading some book. She knew that Junior, former teacher, was Kakashi, so it dawned on her now that he had to kill his own teacher. Naruko was a Uzumaki, Naruto was a Uzumaki, and Junior here was a Uzumaki. Anyone that showed them, well, a bit of love. They got so, well, attached to them, it was like they were their family. And this man had trained him. After all, their whole clan was built on a loyalty, love, kinjutsu, and fuinjutsu. Most of all, family. So Minato Jr. was made to kill his family to prove his loyalty. Magi then spoke once more. His life in Konoha was not good, and Lord Naruto saw this. He gave him friends, and he protected him even though Junior was not aware of it. Sasori of the Red Sands, Sai, and Sakura, they all looked out for him. Lord Naruto looked over his hatred for his father to look after his brother. I didn't know, said Naruko. Lord Naruto wants you to meet Junior. If you keep on blaming him for looking like his father, that's fine, Magi said. He just wanted the both of you to meet. As Magi left the table, as she waited for Sai and Sakura to follow her. As the three of them leave, the tent became incredibly silent. As Junior was unable to meet his sister's eyes, he was just looking down or looking away everywhere except for her eyes. But he mustered up the courage to spoke. I am sorry for what father did to you, and Lord Brother. Don't be, she said. It's not your fault. He saw that she relaxed. As he stepped forward, Lord Brother told me to change my name. Don't, she said, cut him off. He was confused. Why? He said he did not like my name. It's your name, not father's name. She took a few steps as she raised her hand, as she gently placed on her brother's shoulder, as she gave him a smile. You're not father. He felt a tremendous wave of emotion wash over him. His shoulders shook and his eyes filled up with tears. "Thank you," he said the bow. Her eyes became heavy looking at him, as a real smile spread across her face. "No worry, kid," she said. Junior bopped his head as she looked over his uniform and smiled. "Congratulations on your rank." He happily smiled at his sister, a first real smile in years. "Lord Brother said that I didn't need to write the exam anymore because Lady Gamaturo recommended that I have silver." "Then why are you wearing bronze?" "It was the lowest I can bargain for. I want to work my way up to the top and show what I'm truly worthy of, so I can stand beside you and Lord Brother." She looked at this boy, her brother, as she found herself being reflected back. That was the same thing she wanted as well. She then ruffled his hair. "I said the exact same thing to Naruto." "Really?" he said. "Yep. I also need to prove my worth. We both have Uzumaki blood running in our veins. We don't take handouts." "Right," he said. Meanwhile, outside, a small smile was on Naruto's lips as he heard the both of them talking. Junior telling Naruto that he was unable to pick up Zabuza's blade after their fight in the wave against Gato. He was happy that the both of them were getting along. At least Naruto did not blame him for looking like father and also having the same name. That made Naruto quite happy. He did not like that the both of them wanted to join the army, but if that made them happy, they shall. Naruto placed his hand at his ear. "Patch me over to Division Head Nirvana." "Patching you over, King Naruto." "Nirvana here, sir." As she was currently in Iron Country. "Send over a replacement armor for me. This one is broken," he said. The girl gasped over the comms. Your armor was broken by Madara?" "Well, his gunbei did," Naruto said. As he glanced over his shoulder at the gunbei strapped on his back. "I plan on sending it to Inja and Hamato for analysis," said Naruto. "It takes a strong weapon, a really strong one, to break cursed obsidian," Nirvana said, as she hopped onto her feet. "I will fly to Demon Country immediately to make you a new one. It will be with you in an hour." "Thank you," said Naruto. Meanwhile, at the Sakai Kingdom, at the civilian soldier district, this was the first one established by the king of the loved ones and families of the soldiers who are currently in the army, the parents and relatives, and also those who wish to live there even though they didn't have any ties to the army. The district was created as a way for Naruto to show his appreciation to his army. It was also made so that family could live close to their loved ones in the army without necessarily living in the soldier accommodation district, where civilians could not enter the soldier district no matter what. The district was split into several streets, with the last one only being given a name, while the other 6 was numbered. The last street, Kabuki Uzumaki Street, was where the families of those who served in the royal palace closest to the king lived. It was lined on both streets by identical brick houses, red, with a beautiful humble front yard, with a picket fence, a front porch, and a rather large backyard, as they were closed off by fences that went up 8 feet high. A black car was driving down the street. Families all came out of their houses wondering who was in that vehicle, as the car stopped in front of a house. Number 1, the one that was at the end of the road, that wasn't in the left or right, it was right in the center. Parents and children watched as Shinigura, the head maid, came out from the car. As she got to the other side and opened the door with a kind smile, she held out her hand as a soft, gentle hand took it, as she helped the person out of the car. As Shinigura also brought up the cane, it was still needed because her body was still not 100% yet. It was none other than Kushina who was being supported by the cane. As Shinigura gently closed the door behind her, as the car drive off, Shinigura lead Kushina. Kushina smelled the wonderful scent of the garden as she made her way. This house was specifically prepared for your arrival, Lady Kushina. Kushina still admiring the flowers and how beautiful organized they were. She whispered, "My son did all of this?" Shinigura extended her arms all around. "Your son did all of this for you, Kushina." Kushina sniffed as she rubbed her eyes with her right wrist, as tears started to form. "The more I hear about my son, my children, the more I regret not being strong enough to be there with them." Lord Naruto found a strength to overcome every hurdle, so he could give a better life for those, so that they wouldn't suffer just like him. Kushina smiled. "He's a very kind boy. He's a true Uzumaki," she said. "Lord Naruto and Lady Naruko will accept that they have your Uzumaki blood running in their veins, but that is the closest they would get to the clan." Kushina shrugged. "I don't mind." Naruto made a name for herself and Naruko is doing so too. They both have made me proud and that is more than enough for me. Shinigura nodded as they motioned towards the door with the number 1 on it. My lord Naruto personally prepared this house for you. It is inscribed with Fuinjutsu. Kushina stepped forward as she looked at the door closely. Before raising her hand as she placed her hand on it, suddenly the door started to glow as it was a Fuinjutsu stamp to recognize her touch. This was quite advanced. Well, they were currently on a flying kingdom, so yeah. As the door opened up as she stepped inside, she was surprised. The white wallpaper, as there was a few feet of stairs that went upstairs that led to the 4 bedrooms, separate bathrooms, and the attic. And back downstairs there was a corner that went to the very furnished kitchen. And in the living room, there was a large television with sofas and couches, and a coffee table in the center. The floor of the whole house, besides the bathroom and the kitchen, was covered in a blue carpet. And there was a dining room with the tables in the center, with a blood red flowers in the center of it, and chairs all around it. As she walked and looked around, the place was truly magnificent and gorgeous. Under the stairs was a trapdoor leading down to the basement. As she turned to Shinigura after coming back out, this place is perfect. I'm glad Lord Naruto put a lot of thought in this house. As she slowly went with her upstairs, a few spies and scouts went to Konoha and broke into the Hokage's mansion. They retrieved all of her things. Kushina squealed in excitement as she ran her hand through all of her clothes in the wardrobe. But despite that, you will receive a monthly stock for your general upkeep, and Lord Naruto will certainly visit you from time to time. As she handed Kushina a white earbud and helped her fix it in her ear. In case you need anything at all, then you'll be able to reach me with that, as there was a small manual on her bed for the earbud. As Kushina smiled, she sat down in bed as she felt the soft sheet. I am still surprised that you're the Kyuubi. Shinigura shrugged as she slowly sat down beside the woman in bed. I am really just grateful that Lord Naruto found me useful enough to bring me back to life. Kushina then turned as she opened her mouth to say something, but she closed it, thinking that the question might be, well, she just didn't want to say it. As Shinigura simply waited for her to talk. She was usually brash and outgoing, never timid and shy. But Naruto, he has all the chakra and all the control. What use do you have to him when he has the biggest reasons for your usefulness? Said Kushina. Against her expectations, Shinigura just smiled as she looked toward the ceiling. Lord Naruto only gave me one reason deemed useful enough to serve as close to him. He said that I was smart. He said that he has no need for dim and fearful people. He wants strong people, but at the same time he wants smart people that knew the best course of action will help him advise of it. He even said that he was too young back then and too immature to sit on the throne. But even back then I knew that he was much wiser than his age. But sometimes I think he's just humoring me by having me around though. Kushina placed a hand on Shinigura's hand. From what you've told me, and from what I've seen, as she looked around to emphasize her point, my son isn't humoring you. She looked at Kushina before looking down to her hand. And why do you think that? Because you're smart. As Kushina started to use her cane to get back to her feet, as Shinigura helped her up. Damn you, Obito, said Kushina, making Shinigura chuckle. I want to go meet the neighbors. Would that be fine? Would Naruto be okay with that? As Shinigura sighed. Of course he wouldn't mind. As they made their way, as Shinigura helped her outside, as they saw a small family of 3, a white-haired man, a black-haired woman, with a black-haired toddler as well. Hey there, said Kushina. As Kushina was trying to keep the thought out of her mind that her husband was going to be killed very soon, but he deserved every single bit of what he got. After watching that video, it made her so furious to what he did to her 2 children. She knew that he was going to die, but she refuses to feel any sympathy for him. Hell, if she was still in her prime, she would have killed him herself for what he did. That was just beyond despicable. But it was all going to end where it all started, at Grass Country. But still, things have changed. She doesn't have to think about that now. All she really has to think about is getting along with her neighbors, as she smiled and made her way over. Meanwhile, back at the Earth Country, a smile was on Naruto's face as he walked through the soldiers, smiling at them. Behind him was Naruko and Minato Jr. Both have on their ranks bronze and silver respectively. Commander present, Incha, head of frontliners. He was standing alongside Majai, head of Fuinjutsu, Karen, head of medic, and UI Akiso, head of espionage, and Nirvana, head of invention. Naruto's smile became a small smirk as he kept on walking through the ranks. The Sakai Code, said Naruto. Discipline, order, obedience, and loyalty. That was the foundation of where the kingdom was built. As Junior could see how much power his brother held. But he didn't really mind any of that. All he wanted was just to have a family, which he finally did. At ease, Naruto says he finally made his way to the front, as all of them removed their hand from their hearts. Well done, said Naruto, standing in front of all of them. It's our pleasure, sir, said Indra, as he was the one in charge to gather all of them and place them in their special groups. They were going to face the full brunt of attack from Minato. Naruto removed the gunbei from his back as he tossed it to Nirvana. She caught it, as she will be a part of the three-man team that will be analyzing the weapon. Naruto had the memories, but the memories of the man discovered in the gunbei was hidden in darkness. His eyes slowly moved over the thousands of people standing in neat rows, waiting for his order. Very impressive, he said. Thank you, sir. How many soldiers do we have here? 5,000, sir. As for your orders. And in Fire Country, asked. 10,000, sir. Any news? Yes, sir. Naruto stopped and turned towards the man. It was a success, said Indra. The capital has been overrun and the daimyo surrender. Konoha? Naruto asked. There was a slight hiccup in the invasion. The clan heads had smuggled their children and a large number of clan mates in underground railways, leading to an island roughly 50 miles offshore. But the rest of the invasion was a success. Have the clan heroes been captured? Your hunters and scouts are still pursuing, sir, the man said. Naruto scoffed. Never mind, there is nowhere on this planet that they can go and hide from us. Their fate has already been sealed. Tell the soldiers to follow their own pace and be wary of traps. Of course, sir, Indra said. Naruto's eyes then fixed on a special person, a woman standing in the weapons section, as she had dark black hair with yellow eyes, as she was a silver rank. She was wielding 2 steel batons, and she also had a long bow strapped across her shoulder. All of his soldiers went to the academy, and Naruto had looked through the papers with his Rinnegan. Naruto never forget anything. Vine Torun, he asked. The woman blushed heavily and swallowed thickly as he remembered her name. Yes, sir, she said. Best in her year and ace at target practice, Naruto said, as he gave her a smile. What was it that they called you in your class? Sand shooter, my lord, the woman said, trying to keep her shoulders from shaking. It was every soldier's dream to be spoken to by their king. How is your father? Is the treatment working? Very well, sir. The migraine meds given to him are working wonders. That's good to hear, Naruto says. He looked over his shoulder and narrowed his eyes. His Rinnegan zoomed in several miles as he could see his father wearing his battle attire with the Konoha ninjas. As he turned back to Vine, I heard that your brother and his wife have a new baby. Congratulations. Thank you, sir, said Vine. His name is Araki. Naruko and Junior was wondering, why were their brother making idle chatter with this woman while their father was approaching? As Naruto asked the woman if she had any pictures, the woman quickly went through her pockets. As she apologized and her wallet dropped on the floor, as Naruto told her that it was okay, as she pulled the pictures and showed him of the baby. I'm sure you must be very happy, said Naruto. Yes, my lord, we owe it all to you and Lady Karen. As Naruto patted her on the shoulder and asked, is this your first expedition with me? No, sir, I was in Kumon Kiri. Is that so, said Naruto, as he looked towards Naruko. I am not sure if you remember, Vine, but when me and Naruko here was back in the Hidden Zone, on our first day there, you were the one that gave us your coat. I think I remember, she said. Naruko narrowed her eyes at the woman. Oh, yeah, she said. Flashback. The 2 shivering children were in a cage. As they felt extremely cold, their father had handed them over to their godfather. As Naruto had caught a cold from the Russian winter, Naruko was clutching onto her brother as she was trying to keep him warm. She didn't care that she was freezing to death. She just wanted her brother to be okay. Hey, a weak voice said. As Naruko slowly lifted up her head, as Naruto turned as well, as she thought that it was one of the bad person coming to do something to them, but she saw eyes looking over from one of the cells. As they saw a girl over in the next cage from them, as Vine shuffled towards the bars of the cage that she was in. You're new here, right? Naruko nodded once, her lips sealed shut. I came in 4 months ago with my little brother, Kachu, from Hidden Darkness. Our aunt sold us to Urtomar to settle a debt. My name is Vine, she said, as she then shifted a bit to show her brother sleeping behind her. At that moment, Naruto sneezed. Cole asked Vine. As Naruko nodded, Vine took off her black coat as she threw it over to them. You can have that. But, said Naruko, I can share with my brother. Said Vine as she gave the both of them a smile. Thank you, said Naruko as Naruto looked over at the woman, as he had listened to the entire conversation. Thank you, he said weakly. End of a flashback. He had been keeping a careful eye on Vine since the academy, making sure that she was properly trained and treated well. As Naruto patted her on the shoulder. You're very welcome, my lord, she said. A long time ago, one of Naruto's very first orders was to track Vine and Tatsu's father. They had found the man wandering around Kumo searching for his children. The ant that had sold them was killed by loan sharks, so she was not there to tell the father where his children were. He disregarded his health, searching for the both of them with everything he had, as he suffered from bad migraines. Naruto brought the man back and gave Shingor the order to reunite them. He had sent his blessings and sent over to make sure the man was treated, because at that time he was too busy running the kingdom. If there's anything you need, anything at all you have to do is ask. As he reached forward, she shook as she realized her king wanted to shake her hand, as she slowly moved forward and shook her king's hand. I am honored, my lord. As he smiled at her, say Vine, can you help me with something else? Anything, my lord. Can you lend me your longbow, he said. I always forget to pack my own weapons, he said. This sent a ripple of laughter through the soldiers and his siblings. This because they knew their king didn't need weapons. Any weapons he saw on the battlefield, he simply picked them up and used them, and then threw them away. Of course, my lord, she said as she quickly removed her longbow and gave it to Naruto. Thank you, he said. As Naruto stepped forward, he then made his way towards a fully dust cloud of ninjas that were coming. I'll give this back to you in a minute. Vine nodded as she looked over her king's shoulder, as Naruto requested arrow from Vine, as he placed on the bow. As Naruto looked over at Inja, have you gotten the number of the Konoha ninjas? Nora has counted up to 481 of them. 67% are Jonins and Anfus, and the rest are Chunin at best. How was her father able to gather so many? Asked Nora. He pulled out most of them from retirements and long-term mission, and fire capital, and the rest from his Anfu. Still, 5,000 against 400 plus, Naruto said. As he watched the Konoha ninja stop, their father was at the front. Minato's eyes went wide as he saw his thought to be dead daughter staring back at him, and Junior as well. And there was Naruto. Junior narrowed his eyes at his father's. Separate 400 from our forces and get them in position, said Naruto. Naruto's finger glowed red as he straightened his back and closed one of his eye. There was a small vortex at the top of his arrow as the thing started to magnify and surround the arrow before he released it. Minato was snapped from his thoughts when Genma behind him was brought down by a red flash. His face had dissolved and his brain melted out of his ear. Naruto gave Vine her bow back. The soldiers started to move amongst themselves as Naruto motioned for Junior to stay back, as he motioned for Naruko to come. As the both of them stepped forward, the two of them had a smile on their face. Minato noticed the loot that they were sharing. It seems that they were talking like they were planning something, but they weren't saying any physical words. And he was right as the both of them placed their hands on each other's shoulders and tapped their shoulders, sending off signals and message. They stopped roughly 5 feet away from the man. Minato's eyes were bloodshot and his eyebrows were twitching. A gentle smile came on Naruto's face as he raised his hand. Hello, he said. As the man glared at the both of them. You think you've won, don't you? Oh, I think we have, said Naruko. He clenched his teeth towards her. I watched the clip of your murder, he said. Naruto tapped his sister's shoulder to calm her down. Look at what her death has caused. Neither your eyes or your army can disintegrate the will of fire, said Minato, as he looked defiantly into Naruto's eyes. You know something? Tsunade said that, said Naruko, as she smiled at her father. And now, she's dead. Monster, said Minato. Thank you, they said. You've taken my wife, and you've brainwashed my son. This time when you die, neither of you will come back, he said. Now, said Naruto, the 400 ninjas was separated from the rest. All break from under the ground, using the earth release double suicide decapitation technique. The 400 soldiers of Konoha were dragged underground and slaughtered, leaving the 81 left. As the rest of them went out to take on the 81, the 81 remaining soldiers were surrounded as they were brutally slaughtered. Minato quickly spun around as his eyes snapped to see There was not his soldiers behind him but gold and bronze soldiers. There was even time for the Konoha ninjas to scream in surprise as Minato was right in the center, all alone. Sometime I really wonder. I stayed up most nights and wonder why a seal master, a level 10 seal master, would blame his children for what they did not do. Sweat started to roll down Minato's face. If his son's army could take down his ninja so easily, what hope do he has against his son? Why seal the Kyuubi into your children and soon start hating them after, said Naruko, as each of them dropped their arm from each other's shoulder. She crossed her arms as Naruto placed hands in his pockets. Minato gulped as he turned in a circle. As the Sakai soldiers on one side, and Naruto on one side. He quickly pulled out 3-pronged kunai as he went into a hummingbird fighting stance. You are the reason my wife lost her mind, he whispered weakly, still trying to justify his hate for the twins. The vial that settled in his stomach became heavier, forced him to think about what he was going to do. You. The two of them tilted their head. Do you love us, father? Do you love us, father? They asked once more, as his body started to tremble with fear. Deep down in his heart, deep down in his soul, he knew that he was going to be killed in the most barbaric way by his children. As he realized he was as good as dead, he scraped Konoha off every strong shinobi, leaving behind the clan heads. They refused to leave the village unprotected, and these ninjas with him has been taken out with such ease. Remembering all of the experiments and the videos that Orochimaru sent to him, he knew that his kids were powerful, well Naruko. But from what he has seen so far from these soldiers following her order to the letter, he can presume that this boy was a god, plain and simple. He could crush skulls with a thought. He commanded an army of mutants and monsters. As Minato knew that he was going to die. He was going to die here. But he didn't remember all of the Hiraishin seals all around Konoha as his hand tightened around the Hiraishin kunai. Nothing. He didn't vanish. There was nothing. He tried again. Nothing. His escape plan was destroyed in a second. Do you think I will let you escape, father? As Naruto raised his hand, Minato then looked up to see there was a Fuinjutsu barrier, miles upon miles above them, surrounding them. Grass country is now sealed off from the outside world. True to what he had said, the 400-man force that killed the Konoha ninjas were now nowhere to be seen. As Minato saw them standing very miles away, Naruko looked around. I think this big space will give us enough room to fight. Don't you think, father? She asked. It's funny how you didn't think Lord Brother would prepare the stage perfectly. But I'm not so evil to stop you from using one of your signature moves. So you can use your Hiraishin and Rasengan in this barrier, said Naruto. I will permit that. Permit, said Minato, his nose flaring up in anger. Yes, permit, the both of them said at the same time. The both of them then slipped in a fighting stance. The both of them waited, their bodies still and rigid. As they waited, as Minato understood why. They want him to attack first. They want him to dig his own grave. In his current situation, he only had two options. Go ahead and attack first, or suicide. The second option sounded so refreshing at that time. Slicing his own throat. And watch the look on their face because they have been waiting for this for a long time. And to end it so abruptly, it would be a disappointment for them. But he just couldn't. He couldn't kill himself. For all the blood that had been spilled in his place, for all the ninjas he joined with him on this suicide mission, all of it would be a waste. The country's disappointment. He couldn't do that. Yes, suicide was out of the option. The final battle between the three of them was inevitable. He would go down swinging with all of his might, and at least with one of the twins sealed away. He threw both of the kunais before speeding through Hansign. Cursed seal of the underworld, he said. The corner of Naruto's lips curled up in a small smile as Minato shouted the words. Two massive 5-foot horns grew out of Minato's temple that pointed at the twins. His body became a dark red and his eyes became cold and black, and there were some seals crawling up his neck. His arms became clawed but not his feet. He got twice as big and thick as muscles popped into his arms and legs. The ground cracked underneath him as short fangs grew out of his mouth as he roared, a very terrifying roar, as wings blasted out of his back, black wings, shredding his cloak as he tore it off, as he had many seals all over his body, full in his chest. Ah, said Naruto. The stolen seal. Minato might have trusted Orochimaru, but that didn't stop him from stealing Orochimaru's most prized and trusted creation, the cursed seal of the underworld. There was the heaven seal of the cursed mark, there was the earth cursed mark, and then there was the underworld cursed mark. The memories that Naruto got from Orochimaru, as Orochimaru knew that the thing was stolen years ago, and Naruto remembered Orochimaru torturing every single soul, trying to find it, but he forgot it slowly after, became enveloped with the Sharingan, and about the twins as well. Naruto raised his hand and so did Naruko, as they bumped their fists together. Minato shot forward as he threw another 3-pronged kunai straight towards Naruto's neck. The world slowed down to a crawl, as Naruko was still frozen in time, but her eyes slowly moved, as 2 triangles made out of the Kyuubi fire cracked right above her head. Her whisker mark thickened and her eyes dilated to form fox eyes. She released every limiter that was on her body, matching the pace to what her brother was moving to an extent. As Naruto grabbed the 3-pronged kunai and threw it down to the ground, she and her brother then jumped away to the side. As Naruko looked over to see her brother crouched over on the ground to the side, as time returned back to normal, a demonic tail ripped through the ground and tried to impale Naruko. She quickly flipped away as the tail swept towards Naruto, flipped over it, his cloak flapping in the wind. The two of them engaged in a fast hand-to-hand combat with the monster that used to be their father. Naruto jabbed Minato in the side and twisted his body as the tail came right at his face, as he smashed his foot on top of it. Minato's face was jerked back hard as Naruko smashed her fist into it, as she flipped and kicked him in the back of the head, flipping over him. He spun around as he tried to attack her, but Naruto grabbed his tail and threw him away. It was like a game to them, seeing who could get their father more angrier. The twins were moving a fury of twins and claws, switching side every once in a while, confusing Minato. Minato flapped his wings, shooting out fire towards them, as the both of them dodged and ran around. As Naruko jumped up in the air, Naruto flipped. Naruko's body then changed into an adamantium sight with 2 pairs of eyes on the blade. As Naruto grabbed it and started slashing at Minato, who was slashing at him with his claws. As he struck at Minato midsection, before Naruko returned back to normal, as she smashed her fist right into Minato's chin, knocking him upwards. As Naruto flipped over her head and drove his knee down into Minato's face. Minato then blew red, hot, toxic fire straight from his mouth towards them, as the both of them had enough bursts of fire incinerate the ground in front of them. As Naruko started to speed through a set of hand signs, an invisible force grabbed around Minato's neck and yanked him to the ground. It was a universal pull, as Naruko slammed her hand on the ground, Earth style, blast brick wall. His head smashed twice into the defensive wall that rose from the ground from Naruko. The both of them went through one hand sign with each other hand, as they made a collaboration jutsu, water lightning release, combination jutsu, collision course, as Naruto pulled Minato towards him with universal push. Minato extended both of his hands as 2 Rinnegan formed. As the demonic Rinnegan met the twins' collaboration jutsu, the result was catastrophic. The ground beneath them cracked and shook violently, as the earth under them collapsed under their feet because of the power of the jutsus. As Naruko and Naruto fall down into the pit, Minato flying above them with his wings. He raised his hand and created a Rasengan that was big as Gamabunta, as he drove it into the hole. Rasengan, he said. But his Rasengan was blown apart as 2 kunais were shot towards him. He coughed as they stabbed into his chest, as his body was violently crushed against the ground. The weapons in his chest shifted to his 2 children, as Naruto smashed his fist over and over in his father's face, before Minato could get his bearings in, as Naruto smashed her knee right into his jaw, as he coughed up blood before his head was violently kicked in the ground by Naruto. As Naruto extended her adamantium blade as she drove them into his shoulder, as she ripped it out that thing, blood exploded from Minato's shoulder. As Naruto cracked his fist inside Minato's stomach, as Naruto tilted his body upwards before driving an enhanced kick. Minato's chin was cracked under the weight. Minato weakly brought down his hand, but Naruto blocked it, as Naruto appeared right beside her father's face and drove her fist on top of his skull. A cracking sound could be heard. She rolled back as his tail came towards her. His tail was then grabbed, as Naruto ripped the tail from the socket. Pain could not even begin to cover what Minato Namikaze was feeling, as 4 fingers reached right into his eye by Naruko as she ripped it out of the socket. Before it could even scream out in pain, his knees got crushed, breaking the bones completely. He swung around both of his arms, but both of them were grabbed tightly. As both Naruko and Naruto flip as they drive their feet right into his elbow socket, breaking it. As a boot then smashed into his back, snapping the bone. As Naruto's heel dropped right into his throat, smashing his back deep down. As Naruto flipped the man on his back and grabbed onto his wings. As Naruto stepped into his back and started to pull, as he yanked and yanked and yanked until he teared the wings out. Minato cried out in pain and agony. As Minato's body slowly started to return back to normal. As the cursed seal was wearing off. As his human body was worse, badly beaten. As he blabbered out a please. Please, he said, as he couldn't even talk good. He cried at a slap across his face, breaking out some of his teeth even more. He cried as another fist connected into his face, breaking more teeth. I remember begging him when he dropped us off, right, said Naruto, as he smashed his fist over and over in his father's face. Mercy, Minato begged, but Naruto kept on smashing his fist. No mercy, said Naruto as he stomped into his stomach. As Naruto smashed his fist over and over again. No forgiveness, Naruto said. As Naruto raised his hand, his claws extended as he drove it down, right into Minato's skull. Minato's body went frozen as Naruto smashed her hand right into his chest, breaking through it as she held onto his heart, while Naruto held onto his brain. Minato's eyes flashed in front of his life, starting by the day when he was picked up by the third, enrolled in the academy, became the apprentice of Jiraiya. He met the love of his life, Kushina, and lost her when the Kyuubi attacked. He discarded his children while handing them over to Orochimaru, as he could barely see the pair of vengeful eyes looking down at him, until Naruko and Naruto clenched their fists. Naruto ripped the man's brain apart, while Naruto ripped the man's heart to pieces. Minato's body felt like he was being pulled, as he could feel the hands of death dragging him away. In the real world, his body lay there, dead. As the two twins looked at what they had done, she looked over at Naruto and gave him a small elbow. What now? As he smiled, making her smile back. Now, we eat ice cream, he said. She smiled even more. Sounds like a good plan, she said. Time skip, 4 months later. At the burning, hollowed out ground that used to be Konoha. What used to be the Hokage's tower is now buried under a mountain of rubble, as Konoha was wiped out off the map. Footsteps could be heard as he looked down towards a broken Anbu mass. As footsteps came behind him, the man turned as he nodded. As Hamato spoke, the Hinrin has successfully been lifted off the ground and linked with the kingdom. Kiri and Kumo, rebels, have been squashed, and your device is now fully powered and ready to be used, my lord. Naruto picked up the mask as he blew off the dust and examined it. Are the people ready for the trip, Naruto asked. Yes, sir. All citizens are in their houses and have told to be stay put unless otherwise. Naruto looked up as he saw the flying kingdom hovering thousands of miles above them. Naruko and Junior were currently in Kushina's house. Nirvana, what is the condition of the kingdom thrusters and propellers, Naruto asked. Fully operational, my lord. Pressure and climatic seals, Naruto said. Fully operational, my lord, said Ajay. Any of ours on the ground, Naruto asked Mora. No, sir. All in the kingdom. Naruto crushed the mass as he looked at the chaos that had happened after their global tournament. Konoha had managed to make it to semi-finals against Kiri. The arena had been grass country. Each country was represented by their best. For Konoha, it was Sasuke Uchiha, and for Kiri, it was Kojiro. Seeing that Meiterumi has gotten a very, soft complex after a battle with Naruto, she felt inferior, as she wasn't up to the task to fight. Kiri was the one that won, and the Sakai Kingdom rained down fire and hell on Konoha, wiping it off the map. The reward for Kiri was a week grace, where no Sakai soldier would be in their country, but they used that time to plan a rebellion, as it was led by Ayo and Kumo Samui. She had migrated to Kiri with a few of her comrades after Kumo was wiped off the map. They had invited their king to celebrate, them defeating all other nations, and being the only one to survive, seeing that the nations that lost were wiped off the map completely. As they set many explosives under his chair, they didn't expect Naruto absorbing the explosion with his eyes, and shoot it right into Ayo as the man exploded to a bloody chunk. But Naruto told all of his soldiers to leave them after they had subdued them. They were a relief, thinking that he was going to destroy the place, but they were quite stupid. But that was when they saw the day turn into night, as a shadow loomed over Kira. It was a moon. The moon came down from the sky and wiped Kira off the map. Go back to the kingdom, Naruto said. The platinum soldiers nodded as they all fly back to the kingdom. As Naruto looked around the destruction with a smile on his face, as he opened both of his palms, as two black orbs was in it, he threw one of them, the thing flies straight towards Kumo. Well, the destruction mass that was there. As he threw one of them towards the island where all the Genins and clan ears were hiding on. The orb started to rip the earth apart, dragging up the earth towards them and growing in size. Naruto flew straight up to his Sekai kingdom as he landed, looking down the earth. The two moons started to increase in size, eating away at the planet. As Naruto pointed his hand down, the earth's center cracked. As the thing started to crack even more, blown apart violently, showing the core at the center of the earth. The Sekai kingdom started to rise high and high up in the air as it broke through Earth's atmosphere before making it up past Earth. As the two moons were lifted off the Earth after sucking enough chunk larger than anything the Earth has ever seen, before Naruto descended them upon it. As they crashed into the already destroyed Earth, the entire thing imploded, wiping the Earth away. Naruto raised his hand as a golden gauntlet was placed in his hand by Nirvana. So much seal and technology mixed inside. There was 4 Sharingan on each knuckle, and a final Sharingan placed in the center of the gauntlet. All of the eyes were activated as Eternal Monkey the Sharingan and spinning wildly. As Naruto extended his hand out into space, there was a field around the capital, so they were safe inside. Demon Rinnegan Kitsune, Naruto said. Rinne Sharingan, Kamui, multiversal track and propeller, he said. As the gauntlet alerted into a nearby universe, he held his fist tight in the gauntlet as the kingdom was gone in a blink of an eye. They had finally done what they had planned. For years, they killed their father and they took over the world. After having their fun, Naruto destroyed it and now they were off to other worlds. For all of the suffering and all of the disgrace, Naruko and Naruto has finally found peace. But yeah guys, this is where this series ends. I hope you guys have enjoyed the journey. I hope you guys enjoyed the ride for this series. And thank you all once again for enjoying if you did. And don't worry, because you already know that new what ifs are coming out soon for you guys to enjoy. But I'm out for now. See you guys soon. Bye guys.